companies, especially like wine or like liquors, I would definitely charge for exclusivity. And I've been charging it as if someone was going to approach me for like just a standard for a reel and a stories or an feed static post and a story, that amount per month. But sometimes when I talk to people, they go based on a percentage. So I'm just kind of like a percentage.
Got
What?
you.
So yeah, I know that everyone charges it differently and it's always going to be different, but just, I don't know, I guess the starting point.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally fair. I'll say this on a couple things. One, as creators, I don't know like who in the room here is represented by a manager or an agent or have both, and who here is independent. What I'll say is this: the thing to take into account um, when you're comparing creators in the two different situations, there is something important. And the thing is this: when you're represented by someone, they make money when you make money. And so their incentives are always going to be to boost your prices higher because they probably take between 15 and 20% of what you make on a deal. And so there's a couple things to that. One, it does that mean that you should increase your prices? I don't think it's a clear yes. And I'll say, and here's why. I'd say this, like, as a creator, I think it's really, and I say this most weeks here, like as a creator, it's very easy to get caught up in, oh, a person beside me or another person in my sphere or another creator I met that's like maybe similar-ish to me is charging so much more than I am. Like, why don't I get those prices? Or why can't I do that? I think putting yourself in that position is really, really tough, and also going to lead to a lot of failure because like, yes, comparison mindset and all that stuff, fine. But the more important thing is this: as a creator, you want to just do what is best for you. And if you're living a life right now and you're happy with it and you're making the money that you're making and you're enjoying it and your living expenses are covered and whatever, like whatever you need, you feel, whatever you feel you need to exist and to thrive as an individual, if you're making that as a creator, amazing. Does it matter if you increase 10 or 15% extra on your fees? Yeah, you can get 10 extra 15% in terms of income. But on the other side, for pure post, for like creating that content, you're now essentially making it harder for yourself because you need better performance for that brand to be like, oh wow, like they were really worthwhile for the price that they charged us. So this all comes back to when you're comparing yourself to another creator that has representation, realize that the people behind them have two things. One, an incentive to boost income, regardless if it's the right price or not. And two, they have a lot of deep relationships. And so when you have deep relationships, it's going to change the game a little bit on like, what can you push for? What can you negotiate? I say all that just to give a bit of perspective. But when it comes to what do you charge for usage versus exclusivity? Okay, what I always say and what I've seen, if you want to go usage, we talked about this last week, like, do you go usage based off of months or do you go usage based off of how many people are going to see your stuff and how many people are going to be in front of the content that they license? I say the easiest way is month. I go 10 to 15% of the fee. So let's say they ask you, cool, it's like $500, $5,000 for a post. Cool, you're going to take 10 to 15% of that. That'll be your monthly usage fee for them. Great. Like, very simple, very easy. At the end of the day, you're not doing any more work, so you're good. But the important thing, and this kind of goes to exclusivity, and we spoke about this last week as well, is if it's in a niche. So Tanisha, let's say like you spoke about drinking and alcohol and beverages. Like, let's say that's your niche. And if that's what people know you for, and you have a lot of brand equity and you have a lot of, let's call it like likeness or celebrity in that niche, and a brand is saying, hey, we want to use your content on social ads and we maybe want to use it out of home and on email and video and YouTube and all this stuff, then I would charge a premium because then your brand means a lot to them. If you're a creator that has even a couple 100,000 followers, you might not be super recognizable. And so, yes, it's hard to hear, but like your likeness value isn't really there. But if you're really known in a niche, and a brand's in that niche, and they're like, hey, we want to license your content to be able to use your name, image, and likeness over a longer period of time, I would easily double that percentage. I'd go at least like 25-30% of the asset value per month at least. So again, you feel like you're valued is one. The second thing to always consider on usage and exclusivity is this. If you're a creator that you feel, or here, I'll spin it quickly. As a marketer, if you're a smart marketer, you're going to look to creators that you believe are really growing, are like really doing some cool things, and that if you pay them a price for their stuff today, it'll actually be more worthwhile for you in 6 months once they've grown, but you've paid the price of them today. Like, that's a higher level of thinking. But if that's the case, then I'd love to use your exclusivity. I'd love to work with you as a creator and like put your content all over if I really feel you're starting to pop off over the next couple of months, because that gives me a lot of value. So you flip that as a creator. If you feel like you're really growing and where you're going to be in 3, 6, 12 months, as a creator is going to be wildly different. You feel like you're going to be a lot more successful. Then charging per month, you'd want to change that mentality a little bit and go charge per month, but every month they start using you additionally. Like, you should be charging more 6 months than you're charging 3 months, because you don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. And again, a brand is smart if they're like, oh, we wanted you. That's why brands were so predatory 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago, where it was like, yo, give us your stuff in perpetuity, because who knows, maybe you pop off and then we get all the value because we can just keep using your stuff. So as the months go on and as the usage goes on, definitely start to increase your prices a little bit on that monthly basis, because you want to be factoring in for the unknown. What if you continue to grow? What if you double? What if your name, image, and likeness does really grow? That's important. The last thing I'll say is, if a creator or if a brand comes to you and says, hey, we want to use your content for more than like 3 or 6 months, or want exclusivity for more than 3 months, I'd ask the question of why. Like, think of the amount of content they're generating all the time. Like, why do you want it for so long? That doesn't, usually they'll just be like, give it us for 6 months, and they probably won't even use it. So I would ask why they want it for so long. And then two, and this is a personal opinion, this isn't hashtag paid. I'm not representing hashtag paid when I say this. I wouldn't agree to anything that's exclusive or rights beyond maybe 6 months or so, unless it's a brand that I love and it's a brand that I'm like, oh, this aligns with me long term. Of course, I want to be with them. Of course, I want them to be the only brand I work with. Of course, I want them using my stuff. So again, a lot of variables of who you are, your growth pattern, what you value, your actual name, image, and likeness within a niche. And then the other side, again, basing it at least 10-15% dollars. 10-15% of the dollar amount of what you were contracted for on a monthly basis. Tanisha, I said a lot. Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah, challenging. Okay, for sure. So I'll talk on that quickly. And if there's other questions related to, long-term partnerships, like, please feel free, because I'll tell you how I'll talk to you about how marketers think about this. Creators, rightfully so. All you guys are always saying, like, feedback we hear at hashtag paid, feedback I hear. What's up, Elena? Feedback that I hear as someone that's friends and work with a lot of creators is, yo, we want long-term deals. We want long-term deals. This is the year. I only want to focus on long-term deals. Da 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 da. As a marketer, the truth is, I'm probably never going to give you a long-term deal right away, unless, because then, and I'll say this because what if, and compare this to what they know. The only long-term deals marketers used to give personalities are celebrities. Why? Because their value, like their name, the brand being associated with that person, that's the value. Like, that's the true value. And when an MGM partners with Jamie Foxx and they get his name, image, and likeness for whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever the ambassadorship is, Jamie Foxx has been around for 10, 15, 20 years. He's done movies. He's done comedy. He's done music. Like, his name, image, and likeness is so, so high that obviously brands can be like, well, we need more reach. We want greater association. And this person reaches so much and has such a deep love with so many people, long-term right away. As a creator, the brand needs to see trust. And you should also want trust with the brand as well. And so to think that, oh, you're gonna get a long-term relationship right off the bat, I know it makes sense of like, oh, work with me for a longer period of time, my audience gets more warm and they're more receptive to you, and it feels like it's just part of my content and my world. I agree. I think that's a great mentality to have. The reality is that marketers are, we're going to work with a bunch of these creators, and that's cool. Let's see what happens. Let's see what was the performance like. Do we like working with them? Do we feel like their creativity is at a heightened level? What happens? What is this relationship like? Do we think it can go far? And it goes on and on and on. And you go one-off deal, one-off deal, one-off deal, and then you start to build a relationship. But the most important thing is once you work with a brand that you really enjoy and you want that long-term deal, then there's another game to it. The other game then becomes building that relationship alongside working with them. Hey, this is what I'm up to. Hey, I think this could be a cool opportunity for you. Hey guys, have you noticed this? Hey, maybe I'm not going to charge you my maximum rate because I want to kind of engineer so that my results will look better. And I want to do more work for you because I really want to show that I care for you as a brand. And then over time, it'll level out. But trying to think of like prioritizing long-term relationships without having worked with that brand before. And if you're not a major creator that has been around for a long time and has such value purely to your name with a large amount of people, it's tough. And so I prioritize the way you think about things of like, cool, let me try to get the deals with brands that are important to me. Step one. Okay, once I have those deals, step two, let me just keep building the relationship. Let me keep staying in touch. Let me be really proactive with it. And if you have a manager or an agent, that's what they're doing. They're saying, cool, where do you want to get to in 3 to 5 years? You want to be this person? Cool. What are the brands we really want to align with? Like, who are the 3, 4, 5 hero brands we really want to get with? Cool. When we start working with them, or even when we're not working with them, we're going to just stay on the radar. We're going to check in with them. We're going to let them know what we're up to. We're going to give them opportunities. We're going to talk to them so that over time, that relationship slowly builds, just like a human building a relationship with another human. I meet someone through a friend. I'm not going to become immediate friends with them today, but like you see them at a dinner and you see them at another party, and then you reach out, let's grab coffee. And over time, it gets to a point where they're like, you want to go on a 4-week trip? And you're like, oh, yeah, that'd be amazing. Let's do it. And then you build these deep relationships. So that's what I'll say, because as a marketer and as someone who's friends with marketers at these brands, it's very hard. It's very hard to think like long-term deal right off the bat. And so as shitty as that is to hear, I think it's like then the mentality should shift of how do you slowly build so that you get to that point of that long-term relationship. And then once you get that long-term relationship, then you're in. I'm not going to say for life, but then you really are in. If there's nothing else on like building long-term relationships or how brands are thinking of long-term relationships, I'm going to keep going down to see the other questions that were asked. Okay. Tanisha, that's a great way to start. Like someone gave me, I think it was actually Sinead Ingleton Smith, who is the founder of Kensington Gray. They're an talent agency. Yeah, awesome. She's an amazing person out in Toronto. Shout out Toronto. And when she came on the podcast that I run called Creator Culture, little plug, she was saying that when her talent comes to her and says, hey, we really want to start working with Apple, for example, I was looking at my computer. She goes, cool, well, you need to start incorporating that into your content. Your audience needs to start knowing that this is something that they should care for, that you really care for, and you're not just doing it as a performative thing. Like, let's start doing this 2-3 months. Let's work it into the content. Let's think about the strategy around it. Let's make it part of our universe. And then once it's part of our universe, one, by tagging the brand and other people loving the brand through you, greater chance you're going to get those deals. And two, you just have more data. When you talk to a brand, you're like, hey, look, I've been doing this naturally already. Tap in, and you're going to reap all the benefits and more. So that was a great perspective by Sinead that I always love sharing with creators. Okay. Ursula, I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yes, that's right.
You know what's going on. The question you asked is trying to understand how else to get intel of high-paying campaigns by brands to sustain a livable income. In the beginning landing brand deals, and so the goal is to get to having multiple a month. Yeah. Okay. I really like this question, and I think it's a It's an important question to start out. I think there was like two parts to that question. It was like, how do you get intel is one, and then two, you're starting out. So how do you keep increasing your brand deals? The first part is like, how do you get intel on high paying campaigns? This is going to be an answer you're not going to like to hear. It's like, I don't know, because like, think about from a hashtag paid perspective, when our sales team is going to these brands and being like, yo, we want to pitch for your business. Like, we want to take care of your budget and run all your influencer campaigns. We're also trying to ask that question of like, hey, like, do you have a budget of 100K for the next 3 months, or do you have a budget of like $1 million for the next year? Brands won't share that with you. And if they do, that's to me, that's actually a bit of a red flag, because why would I share? Like, like anyone in like, why am I showing all my cards? So hard thing to go for. Instead, what I would do is think of, well, the more established a brand is, the better chance, and actually two things, the more established a brand is, the better chance they're going to spend more on creators. And two, I would also just take a look when you're scrolling your feed on whatever social platform, like what brands keep coming up. Or if you, and here's another good strategy that a creator who's in the like fitness, health and wellness space was telling me a couple of weeks ago. He goes, for him, he creates like a TikTok channel, a YouTube channel, whatever platforms you're on, and he creates it as just like this burner account. He doesn't post anything. It's purely just to observe. And he just starts consuming content of people in his niche. Because then what happens is when he looks at his recommended or he looks at his For You page, all the videos that pop up and then all the related brand integrations and brand sponsorships that happen in there, like he's going to see what brands are really sponsoring that category. And then it gives you a really good idea of, one, okay, who are those brands? And then two, what brands are doing it often and with like how many creators? Because if this brand's working with large creators or a bunch of creators in a short period of time, you know their budget is high, and then you can kind of note that down. For example, AG1, Athletic Greens, like those guys spend stupid amounts on influencer marketing or with creators. They're on literally every video. I was just watching a 20-minute YouTube video and they were on it, and it didn't really even make sense that they were on this video, but they were there. And so if you can engineer that way, or for any creator here, in terms of just getting intel and seeing what other people in your space are doing and how brands are activating and what trends and whatever intel it is, it's always great. Create that burner observer account and then start consuming content related to your account. But then you asked, you're at the beginning of any. Sorry, say that again.
Hold on. It's not immediately clear why I would need to create a burner account. I mean, wouldn't you just go on your own Instagram account and you can just look this up on your own?
For sure, you definitely can. The thing is, when it's algorithmically driven, like for example, on my account, I'm a huge music head, but if I'm really interested in, right now, I'm really interested in middle-aged creators creating for a middle-aged audience. If I just start looking at music and then sports and then try to find that category, it's not going to give me the feed that I want. And so I'll use specific accounts to just look at very specific topics. It's like how I find talent, truthfully. And it's how some creators, not all, but some creators that I know will start to figure out what are people doing in their niche, because at the end of the day, you're not always just following that niche. But if you think of it as like research and development, you give yourself a couple hours a week or whatever the time period is, and you're like, I'm just going to act as if I'm a fan or I'm a user in this niche on this platform, and pull what content is recommended and what are the comments saying and all that stuff. Then you can, again, it's a good research tool. It's a good research tool.
I get it now.
Yeah. But then you asked about, okay, you're at the beginning wanting to land multiple brand deals a month. I'd say a couple things. Like when you say you're at the beginning, how long have you been creating for?
I mean, I started creating in 2017, but then I joined Facebook, Instagram in 2019, just as an employee. So I wasn't able to really keep it up the way that I had been from 2017 to 2019. So there's been a pause. But I'm part of the tech layoffs. So they just gave us all a lump sum and they're like, be your way. And so now I'm back into creating. So it's been about 6 months, but I've really actually zoned in on it in the last 3 months. And I want to actually scale it the way that, we were doing for our clients while I was working at Facebook. Like I want to figure out how to sort of like recreate what we were doing with clients now for myself. But it's challenging knowing like, okay, how do I know what campaigns are going off? Like, how do I get that intel now?
For sure. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry that you were affected by that.
I was happy. I was praying for it.
Okay. All right. Then jokes. Then I take that back. What like niche? What do you create around?
I'm a lifestyle content creator, but it's my two other pillars are pop culture as well as social advocacy. They all very much flow one with the other because my life is pop culture and being vocal about social issues.
Yeah, fair. Okay, cool. I'll say two. Other question: how have you been trying to find brand deals today?
So typically it's like I'm drinking this water and I'm going to be like, you know what, maybe I should reach out to Mount Valley, or I'm using this lotion for my skin. Let me reach out to Coppertone. And then of course, it's like you just said, I have a lot of influencer friends. So I'm just seeing the campaigns that they're on too. And I'm figuring out who their marketing manager is or who the PR agency is to reach out. So like, I wanted to go to iPic to watch The Little Mermaid. So I reached out to iPic and then I landed a brand deal doing that. It's been random.
Yeah, no, totally fair. Okay, like that. And if you don't mind me, what's your dominant platform?
IG, yeah.
IG, and how like what do you add in terms of followers right now?
Well, 12.1.
Cool, amazing. So I'd say a couple things. One, brands. I said this last week, and I feel like you might know this having worked at these companies. The people to go after aren't actually the brands, it's the agencies. So it's either like you want to go build relationships with PR agencies and you want to go build relationships with other advertising agencies, because the truth is the majority of these brands run a lot of their influencer, whether it's gifting and or their paid stuff, through agencies. Like look at what we work with. I think 2022 we worked with a total of like 250 brands or something like that. Like those are brands coming to us saying, hey, we have X amount of budget, we want you to come up with a strategy, and then we want you to choose the right creators for us based off of our objectives, and then we want you to actually execute it. And so when you go to an agency, super impactful because the relationships you build with that agency, like they have visibility over so many campaigns versus being like, oh, let me go talk to Coppertone, and then I have to go to this other company and this other company. So one, in terms of efficiency, that would be it. Now the question then becomes, this is where it gets a little complicated, of like, who are those right agencies? And there's some that you can identify easily by just searching up like influencer marketing agency, for example, on Google. The other thing to note is, from a agency perspective, some are running pure just campaign by campaign for brands. And then some are what's called like the agency of record, where they have a budget. They're saying, cool, we have agreed with the brand to spend or the brand has agreed to spend $1 million with us this year. And it's up to the agency to depend how to spend it, who to spend it with, what the campaigns look like, and all that stuff. Those are the people actually to find. Because if you find the agency of record, those guys are spending all the time compared to an agency. Like, for example, sometimes like #paid, we'll work with a big brand. They'll give us $200K for 2 campaigns, but then we still have to go out and get their business again to run more campaigns. And so like understanding the AO, like, and again, like we always have deals. We always work towards the fact of being what's called the agency of record or something similar with brands. But that's always the important thing, is if you're trying to build relationships, building relationships with agencies that are the AOR. A good place to start is if you look at the big 4 public, I think it's big 4, big 5 public agencies. It's like IPP, it's Omnicom, it's I had the same response last week, and I always forget who they are. But anyway, if you search up like big 4, big 5 public ad agencies, you're going to get to see like who they are. And there probably is even a chart that says like, these guys are media buyers. There's a tip: if don't care about media buyers. Those are the guys that are just buying advertisements for these brands on social media and out of home and all that stuff. Like they're not going to have budgets and or say. You want more so like the creative, or what's called the full service ad agencies under these big four public brands to start building relationships with. And then the other thing I would say is a lot of these brands do have visibility on creators that are creating great content by just tagging them in the videos or in the posts.
Yeah.
And the thing too, so one, always important, like if you're using a brand and you want brand visibility, like never hurts to tag. The other important thing too is when you tag, what you can then do is, like, let's say you start using a product over a month, 2 months, and like you start to see some really good results with it. Then the most powerful thing is reaching out to that team and then saying, hey, look, like over the past 2 months, these videos have got like 10 times better engagement than my usual stuff, for example, or just look at the comments and look what people are saying on this. Like, is there an opportunity to work because my audience is perfect in terms of receiving like your brand and what you guys want? So like showing that proof versus being like, hey, I have X number of followers and I have an engagement rate and like this, let's work. To them, they're probably getting hit with that all the time and they're probably ignoring it. And so if you can give them something of value right away to be like, hey, look, if you work with me, it's like not guaranteed, but it's like very close to guaranteed because this is what my audience responded to last time, is really important.
You're actually right with that. I'm like in the very brink of landing an Amazon deal.
Nice. Congrats.
Because I just kind of have just been creating Amazon videos.
Yeah.
And so now I have a meeting with them on the 28th, but my question still is valid. Like, I don't know how to make it where there's multiple of those, like even 12, 20 of those. So then at least 5 of them land.
And I think honestly, it's the journey. Like, one, it's the journey of like you slowly build it up and you start building these brand relationships, and this becomes a typical relationship that you can rely on. Let's call the Amazon Prime, and then you try for number 2, and then in 3 months you get 4, and then you get 5. There's like that's like the typical build. Or you can look for an agent, for example, that is someone, or not even an agent. You can look for a friend or someone you know in the industry. Say, hey, I'll pay you X. Give me 20 hours a week and just reach out for me. And just like be that person. Like that might be the right way. Now, will agencies take you at 12K? Maybe not, but maybe it's not even worthwhile for you to go to an agency at the moment and just finding that person. So that's the other thing to look at is don't always consider, for everyone here, don't always consider just manager or just agent. Like look at what you really need. And based off of what you need, maybe you find someone who's a friend who can actually just do that job for you and they want to make extra cash or they're passionate about your business. There was one other thing I was going to say on that. That was agency managers reaching out.
Virtual assistant, I don't know.
Yeah. You definitely could, like, again, you definitely could get a virtual assistant. Okay, the thing I was going to say skipped my mind, but I would the other thing would be if you have friends, and for everyone here, this is definitely a hack. If you have friends who are creators who are in and around your space, like I know a lot of creators that'll be like, by the way, I'm on this campaign. I think a great creator for this campaign would be this person or my friend, and here's why. And so if like they're your army as well, that could also be super useful. And sending something to them where it's like, here's why I think I'd be a good fit. Because at the end of the day, a mistake that a lot of creators use is like, hey, I have X engagement, I have X number of followers, like I'm looking for deals, let's work. The blunt answer is I'm always ignoring those emails, because at the end, I don't care what you have. What I care about is like, why is your audience going to resonate with the stuff I'm trying to sell? Like, why am I going to actually get through? So never start with like, here's who I am, this is what I love, I've done all these deals. Like, that's great, but I want to know your audience. I want to know why they respond to you, why they like you, like why, if I work with you, is this actually going to be successful? So I'm just looking at, okay, Jen, you asked, or maybe there was questions before. Jen, you asked how often should we circle back to a brand if they don't respond? No, you're all good. How often should you circle back to a brand? I wouldn't say there's a hard and fast rule. I'll start with that. What I will say is like, definitely give it a chance, like follow up at least 2-3 times at least. If you thought, like, the way I go about it is it's opportunity cost. It's like your time and your headspace versus potential income. And if you follow it up twice or 3 times and they're still not getting back to you as like a, hey, yeah, we were interested, and they just haven't talked to you anymore, the more you spend thinking about it, like the more times you have to follow up, the less of a chance they're actually going to be interested and really want to land that with you. And so the tactic I always tell creators to use is like, once you've gone beyond, let's call it like 3 reach out or 3 follow-ups and nothing's happening, no, I wouldn't give them an ultimatum, but I would shut it down yourself. I'd say like, hey, seems like this isn't working out. If there's ever an opportunity, like, let me know and let's work, but like shut the conversation down. Give them a chance to, if they're actually interested, they'll go, like I've seen marketers do this, go, oh shit, I'm losing the opportunity to work with Jen. Okay, hang on. We have to respond. Sorry. Yeah, let's make this work. But if you keep going, hey, just want to follow up. Hey, just want to follow up. Hey, just want to follow up. Like they can ignore that and it's not immediate. So I'm in a different position. I'm not a creator. I don't live off of brand deals. And so you guys need the income and I totally get it. But in terms of worth your time and your mental space of like, oh, I got to follow up with this brand and are they really going to be for me? Is this actually still a deal? Versus maybe being a little bit more stern and cold with it to say, hey, you know what? It's cool. Like, I'm not going to work with you this time, or like, no need to work this time. But in the future, if there are opportunities, let me know. And you shut it down and you put the ball in their court. And if they want to take action, cool, they'll take action. But again, give yourself a chance over, I'd say, like at least 2-3 reach outs. Yeah, for sure. Jennifer tells you providing post-campaign reports, even if they don't ask, has been helpful. Ooh, that's a great perspective. I really, really like that. Providing post-campaign reports, even if they don't ask for one, has helped you land recurring partnerships. Jennifer, can I ask, what do you include in those post-campaign reports that you found to be effective? You can go off camera, or like you can post, you can just text in the chat, but what have you found to be really effective when doing that? Because that's a really cool approach. While you're answering, or if you're still here with us, what I've seen works really well in post-campaign reports, like, yes, typical metrics, but the more important thing is like, how did the audience respond to it? And so if people DM'd you and told you how much they loved the video or how much they love the product, or especially in the comments, if the comments are saying something around the lines of like, oh, dude, where can I get this? Or like, oh, this is the best ad I've seen, or da-da-da, like, take that stuff and share it with them for sure, because that'll gonna, like, yes, they need to hit their metrics, important, but that's also the element of them going, oh wait, hang on a sec, like, I think there's actually something here, and their audience, maybe their community, if it is a community, we can really tap into this. But great perspective. I really, really like that. Pull insights from the campaign. Nice. Key comments, DMs. Wow, I like that. That's smart. Being proactive for next campaign. Amazing. I think that's something that everyone here can take away, is being that proactive and just showing the brand that you really care, especially when they don't ask. Kudos. Really, really like that. Really, really like that. Okay, I'm going to keep going down to see if there's other questions that were asked. Okay, don't think so. I think that was it from everyone who submitted questions before today. Okay, so we have like 20 minutes left, and this is usually what I'll do. At this point, if there is a question right now, comment that you want to discuss or work through, like, please either go off mute and let me know, or shoot it in the chat. Another thing that you can do as well is if you have ideas of things you're working on and you want to just brainstorm and walk through with everyone on the call, like, please feel free to do that as well. If not, I have a couple questions. Yeah, for sure. Ursun, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to dominate the comment.
No, if no one else is talking, for sure, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I came to Palm Springs to create content and felt like it was like more low-hanging fruit to try and land brands. And I'm trying to work with this newer hotel here. And they let me shoot everything. They gave me food and everything to kind of like shoot the content and create like the experience. But I'm trying to actually land like a hotel stay, even if it's just one day. And the person who I connected with was probably the first level, which is the hotel manager, but I know that there's someone above that person that I need to connect with. And I've created all the content. I haven't heard back from them. I'm still here in Palm Springs. I'm not really quite sure how to navigate the whole situation because it's like, I need that one last piece, which is the actual hotel stay. So should I reach out again to the hotel manager, director of sales? Okay, I don't know how to navigate this because they've kind of gone silent. But I mean, they let me in. They were like guiding me, like, okay, go shoot here by the pool. Okay, go shoot the food here. But now I'm just left with this content and no one's gotten back to me.
Yeah. Okay. Totally fair. Yeah. LinkedIn's a great place to start. LinkedIn's a great place to start, especially if you know the naming convention of the email. So for example, at #paid, we're like first letter, first name, last name at #paid.com. So if you've seen one of their email conventions, then you can be like, oh, director of sales is Jennifer Tallis. Cool. Now you know exactly what her email is, and then emailing her. The other thing, and this is a shitty part about the industry, I don't know what hotel you're staying at. I actually don't have relationships with a lot of hotels, so I don't know if this to be true, but a lot of them could be like, all right, this is an opportunity for us to just get content. Yeah, let's take it on the premise. And as shitty as that is, that might be what's happening. But to go to the positive side of this, I'd go with Tanisha and definitely go check out who they are. Like, go on LinkedIn, check out who their director of sales is or who their social media manager is, or if there's anything related to like a brand marketer, brand manager. I would just shoot off emails to them. And the way that I would position it is like, the last part in your series is going to be X. Like, here's the videos, and the last part of the series is the hotel room, and like, here's what you're thinking about. You're leaving in whatever in 2-3 days. Like, is there an opportunity for us to work together? Because I think like this series is going to hit, or I've seen this hit with my audience before, and it's just the last video I need. Like, I'd be more proactive versus being like, guys, like, I need the room. Can you just like toss me the room for the night, and then I'll create content for you? Because they probably get that. They probably get that all the time. So at least showing them the progress of like, here's the stuff that I've already done, is I think more of like a tasteful way to approach it.
I like this. Okay. Yeah, because she's not responding, so I just probably need to go above her.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like you said, what's the position of the person that's not responding?
She is considered the hotel manager.
Got you. Yeah. So if you think about her mentality, she probably doesn't care for this at all. Like, this is like super low priority for her in terms of what her needs are and like where she wants to go and what her metrics are. So yeah, definitely go to the people that are either on the marketing team or potentially sales.
Okay. Love this.
Yeah. Alana, go ahead. And if I'm saying that right. Oh, maybe we're just trying to clap. No, you're all good.
I was actually just going to ask, were you just sending emails, or were you talking to them at all on Instagram directly?
Oh, no, I'm here. Like, I just was super bold and I went straight to them here in person. I was like, hey, I'm a full-time content creator. I want to shoot some content. I have a professional camera, so I had professional camera equipment on me. And she was like, yeah, come by tomorrow at 3. And so literally we just spent 4 hours creating content.
Okay. I haven't done that one directly. I do a lot of like staying with hotels and stuff and travel. And I've found that weirdly hotels seem to be a lot more responsive on Instagram directly, whereas like for events and brands, it's always email. Like, I pretty much never get responses on Instagram except for with hotels and travel. I don't know why.
Wait. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, their people, maybe just their PR people have with travel more on social directly. I have no idea, but
okay, I like this.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I found, because I went to Joshua Tree for the first time and stayed at 4 different high-end properties, and each one were all just free on Instagram.
What? Okay, that's incredible. Okay, well then I think then maybe my leg up here would just be like, hey, I reached out, or, I was already at the property. I've created all this content. They've actually started interacting with me on Instagram with some of the things that I was posting in stories, but I didn't think even to take this approach. So I love that you're mentioning this.
And the nice thing about that is sometimes if they have events, they'll circle back just to see like if you're in the area for that event to cover.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Thank you, Alana. That actually really helps because I now know
I
how
don't know if that helps.
this today. Yeah. I didn't see in the comments if anything. It's always hard for me to see the messages. Cooperate with hotels. Here are some of the properties that I worked with in the past. Ooh. Usually ask for 2 or 3 nights as they give me enough to create. Oh my gosh, Eva, that is so great. Okay. Wow. This is really helpful, guys.
Awesome. We just got a task force over here. And now, yeah, everyone's like 2 or 3 nights free. Really? Should I just start creating content for hotels? Yeah, it's cool. Again, it's like if you can be, I think what I'm hearing from all of this is like if you can be proactive with it, and you can like show value to them, because at the end of the day, so many creators are reaching out being like, yeah, I want to stay for free. I can shoot content. But it sounds like there's some really good tactics here about how to get in touch with them, how to get attention, like where they live, what they care for. So for everyone that jumped in, thanks. That was awesome. That was really, really cool.
I'll piggyback on the two, Eva and Tanisha. You're right on the low season. It is complete low season here in Palm Springs. Nobody comes to Palm Springs during the summertime. So it's like optimal to get content and just put it in my portfolio of like, things that I've booked. Thanks, everybody.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, cool. Big brain sesh on all things social and getting brand deals for hotels and hospitality. That was cool. We have 10 minutes left. Anything else someone's working through, thinking about, dealing with, that they want perspective on from other people here or myself? Yeah, Ursula, for sure. Go at it.
No, I didn't raise my hand. I don't know if that's another.
Oh, were you trying to?
I'm
typing?
It's me, I think.
What's up, Alana?
I was just wondering. I talking about circling back with companies. What are good reasons to kind of circle back? Because I always feel awkward just being like, "Hey, I worked with you a while back. Just seeing if you have anything else."
Yeah.
To do. So I have been wondering, is it weird if you're like, hey, I did a campaign a while back. I wanted to share some of the comments or things that I've gotten since that I thought might be helpful and post like what is something that you can offer basically when you're circling back so it doesn't just seem like you're asking for things?
Yeah. No, such a good question. So a couple things. One, brands and people at agencies, depending on who you're reaching out to and who your point of contact was, like they love to see like movement. Like think of it from a brand or a marketer perspective, or even like an ad agency that represents a brand. If they're like, oh, we worked with X creator for this campaign, they posted, it did whatever, maybe it did fine. And now if I'm looking at their content over the past couple of months, like they haven't done anything like that again, I'm probably not going to work with them again, because it just shows like, oh, they wanted the bag. They saw it as an opportunity and respect for taking the opportunity. But in terms of like really building and being part of their world and it making sense with the content that they create and the expectation and the value they create for their audience, they might just ignore and like not care for it. I'd say it's more important if you continue to create content, regardless with their product or not, but like around their offering or their niche or their category. And one, it's always important to just stay in touch with people. Like even if you feel, and I hear you, that it feels awkward to be like, yo, hey, I just want to keep it like say what's up and tell you what's going on. At the end of the day, it still keeps you top of mind, as long as you're not being needy and as long as you're not being, what's the best word here? I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, I'll use the word. I'm privileged, like being like, hey, like checking in. I have like 300,000 followers. Like, why don't we work together? As long as you're not taking those approaches, I find that as a marketer, at least, like if, for example, when creators hit me up and say, hey, like we want to create content for hashtag paid, we see you're running events, we want to create content for hashtag paid. I don't like, I'll always read it, I'll always take it into account if someone's like, hey, this is like who I am, this is what my audience cares for, or this is what I do, this is my skill set, here's some of the videos that I've created that I think could be really cool to intertwine with hashtag paid for your upcoming whatever, if there is a campaign. Like, to me, that's not in my face, that doesn't take up my time. I'm not like, that's a waste. I'm like, oh wow, here's someone that thinks that they'd be a good fit for potentially certain things they see going on at hashtag paid, or here's some things they've done in the past. They want to propose a new way of, let's call it, shooting content at our events. Yeah, like even if I don't respond, at least I'm like seeing that, I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's kind of cool. Maybe it doesn't fit right now, but like, great option. So for you, in terms of taking that back, I would always keep the brand that you've worked with like up to date, even if it's like every 3 months. It's, hey, this is what I am working on for the future. I don't like see, does any of this align with where you guys are going, with what content you want, with the campaigns you want? Plus, here's certain things that the audience has been saying. Here's the stuff that like has really been working. Here's a couple of the examples of the videos that, again, you can get a marketer to look at. They're like, oh, okay, that's cool. If we were to work together, kind of want something like that. And I've seen it work well with your audience. Great, I want to keep going. And so if you can just like stay in touch with them and not say, hey, I'm working on this series, can I have a brand deal? But it's, I'm working on these series. Here's like stuff I'm trying out right now. Does any of this align with where you're trying to work with creators in the next 4 or 5 months? That's a very fair question. And they may ignore it, but they may be like, hey, cool, like the content, not where we're going. Then that gives you the opportunity to say, cool, like, where are your priorities? And if a marketer is kind and they're open to sharing and they're like, oh, we want this and we're caring for this and this is our objective for the next quarter, then you can always come back and be like, oh, you know what, like I've been creating this type of content, or like, can I show you what I can do on this side? And at least that back and forth is there. So update them on who you are, on your progress and like the stuff you're working on. Always position it as a way of like, is there a way that it intersects with their goals and their objectives and what they're looking to reach out at? And then if ever your videos do really well with the brand and you just want to keep them in touch, it's, by the way, just shot a brand or shot a video with your product. It did incredibly well. Here's a couple of the stats. Here are a couple of the comments. Just wanted to send for visibility. I see that as positive because you're helping them. You're like, oh wow, this is someone that's valuable and worthwhile to work with. Cool. I don't actually have to now spend so many hours trying to find the right creator. What's up, Jen, or for Robbie, or both you guys?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. Got you. I got you.
So for my stuff, so I'm split between Instagram and YouTube, and Instagram is more focused on my dog's content. I share a lot of the same stuff on our stories as I share on YouTube, but like our actual feed is more of like her stuff, if that makes sense. But our YouTube is lifestyle vlog. That's me and her. So I feel like whenever I'm pitching brands, it's weird. You know what I mean? Because there's two different things, but they all flow together. So I try to introduce it as everything's a package, and like I'm lowballing myself really bad right now as far as price goes, but because I have to mention it on both platforms, like I feel like I do for my audience, and people tend to not like that. Is there, what can I do? Because I mean, it makes sense in my head for me to share it on both. Like I'm not gonna not. Yeah. But like I've had people come back and say, oh no, we only want Instagram, or oh no, we only want YouTube. And it's like, well, I kind of feel like I have to share it on both. So I don't know really what to do. Yeah, no, great question. A question back to you is, when you're sharing this proposal or the idea of like posting on both platforms with the brand, are you indicating to them that like they'd be paying for both, or are you being specific to say, hey, like complimentary with an Instagram post, me, like I will cross pollinate that and I'll put that on YouTube free of charge? Yeah, so that's typically what I do is I look at what they're actually, if it's something that I found that they're wanting a campaign on, let's say they're wanting it on Instagram for some reason, then I always mention that I also mention it in YouTube, but it's not an extra rate. Like it's just, it will
Sure.
also get mentioned there.
Mm.
And I look at that as a benefit myself because you're getting extra exposure, but I've literally had people come back and say, oh no, we only want the one thing. So
Gotcha.
which to me is strange because why would you not want it mentioned on more than one platform
For
if it's
sure.
not going to cost you anything more?
For sure. Okay, so maybe it's like a misunderstanding on their side. Maybe they're reading it quick. Maybe they misinterpret what you're saying. What I would do, I'd give them what they want, and then I can't think of a reason that is negative for you to then like cross-pollinate that post on the other platform. And I'd say this is the important thing for you, not for them. If you feel like it actually aligns with the stuff you're doing on that platform. If you're just like, hey guys, we're just gonna I'm gonna cross pollinate for you, but then the audience sees it and they're like, that makes no sense. Why is this video here? So as long as it aligns, I would again, if you're hearing the brand's like, no, we just want this, even if you try explaining yourself, then cool, just give them that. And then I'd definitely post it on the other platform. Like I've never heard a brand say no, don't post it on the other platform unless the other you've been canceled or something. I actually can't even think. I can't even think of a reason. So just play their game.
Okay.
And then and then go about it.
Well, and the reason I'm trying to do this is because I'm trying to incorporate more. I kind of want to merge both things and kind of make it be the same. You know what I mean? Like I kind of want my Instagram and YouTube to be sort of the same in the future. I'm playing a long game here because I want it to kind of be more like my YouTube for both of them.
Sure.
But, so I'm trying to nurture that Instagram audience in the stories instead of on the feed so that, the people who are closer already in are going to see, more of the lifestyle content that we want to create. And I incorporate that a little bit in the feed. And then over time, I plan to incorporate it more into the feed too. But do you think that's a good strategy or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think I really like what you're saying there where, and I've heard creators say this, where it's like when they're introducing new types of content or they're introducing new categories or a new style, they'll use the stories because stories feel a lot more personal. And also the people that are watching your stories are probably the people that care about you more than people that will just watch you on the feed, especially if it's algorithmic. And so, yeah, I like that. Keeping it to stories. Stories also, you can engage, you can throw up polls, you can put emojis, like you can get different ways to gauge reactions to like, oh, people like this, and then you can pull that content or that strategy or that format down to the feed. Another way, if you post it on the feed, you can see it's like one feed post, even if it doesn't do well, it's not going to alienate you. It's not going to alienate your audience. It's not going to whatever. At the end of the day, to play the long game, you have to keep reinventing yourself. So I wouldn't worry too much, but I do like the mentality of try it on the story and then kind of play around, use the story as the sandbox. And then once you feel confident or you're really excited about a piece of content, then cool, take that format and bring it on the feed.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
No, of course. All right, guys. Well, we're at 3:01. Well, 3:01 on Eastern time. I guess it's noon for some of the people here that are on Pacific time or wherever else you are in the world. Thank you for coming through. We do this every Friday. I'm actually going to start doing this with a guy named Justin Moore, who runs Creator Wizard. This guy's got insane amounts of knowledge. He runs courses on all this stuff. He is a creator. He used to run an influence marketing agency. Now he runs something called Creator Wizard. Amazing person. We're going to try to figure out a time to do this. So right now it's just going to be oh, you're in a news cohort. Amazing. We'll tell him I say what's up. Love that guy. Right now we're going to keep doing it every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then relative to wherever you are in the world. But I'll let you know if the time or the date changes when Justin and I find a time to do it together. And the reason I want to bring him on is because that guy's got so much knowledge and he teaches this every day, and it's not a scam. Like, he is not a scam. I will put every dollar I have behind that guy. So anyway, guys, thank you for coming out. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for being participative. Same time, same place every week. Have a great day. Enjoy the weekend.